So when I showed this trick to Logan, he said that it worked 10 times better than meditation for him. He did say it was harder than expected, but once he got used to it, he said that it silenced his mind like never before. The good news is that it's really quite simple. It's not always easy, especially as we make it a little bit more complicated or in-depth, but it is very, very simple and straightforward, okay? It's 3 things, and in this video, I'm going to break down what these 3 things are, 3 steps, and we're going to do it together. I'm going to give you some context for why I think this works, and then you're going to have a tool that you can take out into the world that doesn't just work when you're sitting down on your meditation cushion, but works everywhere. Okay, let's get started. So the first thing is to simply look around your environment or the space that you're in. We call this orienting to the safety in your environment. So when was the last time you actually looked around and checked, hey, is it safe here right now? Are there any tigers? Any bears, any crazy people, any tsunamis falling things from the sky? Just taking a moment to actually pay attention, to tune in like we're tuning a radio signal, to tune in to pay attention to the fact that, hey, it's actually really safe right here. All right, so try that right now. Look around and see if it's safe. Can you see any threats in your physical environment right now? Don't worry about the mind, the thoughts, the worries. Just physically, can you see or hear or smell any threats in your environment right now? The reason I think this works, the reason I know this works, is because when we're worried, when we're stressed, when we're anxious, what's really going on is we feel our nervous system on a deeper level, not just our mind, feels unsafe. And so the solution to that is not to think about it, to write about it, to make a gratitude list. It's to show our nervous system that, hey, it is safe. And we do that not through words, not by talking verbally to it, but by showing it, by looking around and saying, hey man, here's the colors, here's the sounds, here's the smells, if there's a smell of safety. Let me show you that it's safe. And so orienting to the safety in our environment, step 1 in this 3-step trick, is a really, really good way to help your nervous system calm down. Okay? So that's part 1. We've got 3 parts to get through. Okay? And part 2 is to feel the ground. So whatever time of the day or night it is, whatever time you're watching this video, when was the last time you actually felt the ground beneath you? Now, the ground can be the ground, you know, your feet connecting with the floor. It could be a chair. It could also be a bed. And what would it be like right now can you feel the ground? Maybe start there. Can you actually feel the ground beneath your feet? The chair, the bed, the pillow? Now, I'm not exactly sure why this works, but we think about grounding, being grounded, being in our bodies instead of racing around in our thoughts. Feeling the ground, feeling the chair, feeling our connection to our environment through our sense of touch, which is what we're doing, is a really, really good way to ground, to feel the ground. If you want to be grounded, you want to ground yourself, just feel the ground. You don't have to go stand on the earth with bare feet like a hippie. You can do that. Sometimes it's just enough just to feel the ground. Become aware of your feet. Become aware of the way your butt makes contact with the chair or your back makes contact with the bed. So what would that be like right now to notice that? And if you need to, you can sort of shift around a little bit, shift your weight, which will help to generate some sensation in that area of your body. So you can, if you're lying down, you could turn your head slightly from side to side. You could wiggle your butt on the chair. You could sway a little bit if you're standing on your feet. Okay, so that's the first 2 steps. Look around and orient to your environment. Feel the ground or the chair, your connection to your environment through your feet, your butt, right? 2 steps. We've got step 3 coming in just a moment. I just want to say though, if you're enjoying this and you would like to learn more about this, get more videos like this, remember to hit the subscribe button and you'll get more stuff like this. Okay. Now part 3, so there's really part 3. It's in some ways it's 4 steps, but it's 3 main things. And then what we're going to do is add some secret sauce, you might say, some magic to it. Okay. So step 3, part 3 is to simply notice your breath without changing it. All right, that's one of the caveats here. As you bring your attention to your breath, Do you find yourself taking a deep breath or having an impulse or a desire to control the breath? And what would it be like to ease up on that a little bit? Can you be with your breath without directing the breath? Kind of like if the breath was a horse and you were holding the reins and you could direct it, like you direct the breath. We can do breath work and things like that. What would it be like to just let go of those reins for a little bit and let that breath run free? And just notice how that feels. How do you know that you're breathing right now? Is there a sensation in your shoulders as you breathe in? Do your shoulders rise? Does your chest rise? Maybe you feel it in your belly. You might feel the sensations around your nostrils, your mouth, depending on how you're breathing. Just noticing that, again, without changing or directing the breath if you can. And that takes some practice. So if you can't do it straight away, that's okay. And finally, in a moment I'll talk about why I don't consider this meditation, because if you're listening to this, you might be thinking, well, that's just meditation. And I'll explain in a second why I think it's not really actually meditation. But first, let's add the secret sauce, the magic to this thing. And this is when we start to blend these senses together. So can you, right now, maybe try this if it feels good, if there's an impulse there. What would it be like to see, to orient to your environment, step one, and feel the ground, step two, at the same time, right? So we're weaving two things together at the same time. What would that be like? You can try seeing and noticing the breath. That would be another option, right? So we're taking one thing from one point of focus. Now we're having 2 points of focus and we're weaving them together. So can you orient to your environment, orient to the safety in the environment, while also noticing your breath? And what about, can you notice your breath and feel the ground? And if this is difficult, it's okay. Depending on what we've been through in our lives, our ability to pay attention, the traumas and all the stuff that's happened to us, it's going to be more difficult or less difficult. It's not really a competition between me and you. It's a muscle. If you've never done this before, it may be difficult, and that's okay. If you've done a lot of practices like this, it might be a bit easier. Okay, and finally, the real magic, so we've done two things, is to put all three of these things together. Can you see and feel the ground and notice your breath all at the same time? Three things. Now I've got ground, environment, breath. Three things woven into one. Three pieces of string woven into one thread. What's that like? Okay, so that's the 3 steps. Look around, feel the ground, notice your breath, all at the same time and without controlling the breath if you can. Now, one objection I've heard when I've taught this to people is they just tell me, hey, this is meditation. I don't get how is this different to meditation? And I guess that depends on how you were taught to meditate. In the Tibetan tradition, they teach techniques like this, so I've heard. I've never actually learned it from there. I learned it in the world of nervous system healing. When I got into meditation, it was, I think I picked up a book on Zen, so it was counting my breath, in, 1, out, 2, in, then it was just tracking the breath, always with my eyes closed. At some point, it turned into just being like resting as awareness or doing self-inquiry. That's another sort of practice from some of those traditions. But then I found this world of nervous system healing, somatic therapy, some people call it. And this was the practice of look around, feel the ground, notice your breath. And straight away, it's like I after 10 years, right, of meditating 20 minutes a day in the ways that I mentioned, I did this for 2 weeks. And all of a sudden, I felt myself land in my body. I think this is what meditation ultimately aims to do. But for the average Westerner, that we're all so in our heads. Our whole culture is about being inside your head, stuck in your head without even realizing it. It's just normal. And so maybe, you know, if you grew up in India or China or something, it might be okay. But I think for our culture, we need something a little bit more than just sitting with our eyes closed, overriding the body, in some ways disconnecting, right? There's something very powerful about blending the externals, is what you can see and hear, with what you can feel internally. I haven't seen the research on this. I don't know why it works, but there's something about that specific technique that changes everything. Now, meditation usually is one or the other. It's not both, right? So you focus on a candle, you focus on a sound, you focus on a mantra, or you focus internally on a painful sensation in your stomach. The problem with doing these separately, if you focus on something that's outside you all the time, the stuff inside you never gets a chance to come up and release, right? So you're always, we would say, resourced. You're always somewhat disconnected from what's happening internally. So this can't actually come up. There can't be true healing. On the contrary, say like a mindfulness retreat, you can spend all your time focused internally, but this is where all the stuff, all the shit, all the stored energy and emotion from the past is hiding. So if you only focus here, you can end up flooding your system with electricity, basically energy, all the stuff from the past, the times you didn't run away, the times you didn't attack, the times you didn't scream. All of that can come up far too quickly, just like it can in, say, an ayahuasca ceremony. And so meditation, I think, just lacks, for the average Westerner, a bit of nuance and sophistication. And this nervous system approach of starting to blend the external and the internal, very subtle difference, but sometimes the small differences in how we're doing something make a huge impact in the result. And that was certainly true for me, and I've seen it's true for a lot of other people. I know people who meditate, and they meditate a lot. And I'm like, how have you not got this beast sorted? You know, I think meditation often produces people who are very well developed internally, but there's no embodiment of it. There's no connection between this internally developed awareness and the environment. But this practice, the one that I've just shared, the 3 steps, look around, feel the ground, notice your breath, that will give you what we're talking about here. Okay, so give it a try, play with it on your own. And if you'd like to go a little bit deeper, I do have a free lesson from the Rage Heart Academy where I teach people, there's all kinds of different ways to go deeper into this. But the first lesson is free on YouTube, and I will make sure it's right here. So if you click that video right here, that'll take you to the free lesson. It's right here on YouTube. You don't have to sign up or pay anything. And that'll be sort of a more in-depth exploration of what we've covered here. Okay, thank you for listening, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.